Welcome to the Daily Current Affairs by Civic Center IAS, where we'll discuss the important articles for the day 29th March from the Hindu, the Indian Express and the PIB. So the first article here says that a 7.7 magnitude earthquake in Myanmar has claimed at least 1,002 lives, injured 2,376 people and left 30 missing. In this context, we'll talk about the recent Myanmar earthquake. So what is the main cause for it? See, Myanmar is located at the boundary of India plate and Eurasia plate, making it highly vulnerable to earthquakes. So the specific cause of the recent earthquake in the Myanmar can be attributed to the dynamics of plate boundary. Now, moving forward, see, talking about the tectonic plate interactions, the India plate and the Eurasia plate are moving horizontally past each other. So the interaction of these plates creates a strike-slip earthquakes, which are caused by horizontal motion rather than vertical motion. So this is different from the more common subduction zone earthquakes, where one plate slides beneath the other. Moving on to talk about the strike-slip earthquakes. See, the strike-slip earthquakes typically occur when the plates slide horizontally at different speeds. While these earthquakes are generally less powerful than subduction zone earthquakes, they can still reach significant magnitudes, often between magnitude 7 to 8. So the Myanmar's location along this plate boundary, particularly in the Sagaing region, has made it prone to such seismic activity. Also, although Myanmar is located in a seismically active region, large and destructive earthquakes in the Sagaing region have been relatively rare compared to the other parts in the country. However, the tectonic conditions are still capable of producing significant earthquakes, especially along the fault lines created by the plate interactions. So the second article says that more than 1800 contempt cases are pending in the Supreme Court, while another 1.43 lakh cases are pending in the High Courts, according to the Law Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal. So in this context, we'll talk about the Contempt of Court. See, the Contempt of Court Acts of 1971 was enacted to define and limit the powers of courts to punish contempts and regulate procedures related to contempt of court. So looking at its key provisions, see, what is civil contempt? See, willful disobedience to any judgment, order, decree or writ of the court is called civil contempt, whereas civil contempt acts that scandalize or lower the authority of the court or interfere with the judicial proceedings or obstruct the administration of justice. So what are the exceptions to this contempt? See, publication of fair and accurate reports of judicial proceedings is not considered contempt. So fair criticism of the judicial acts is not contempt if it is based on the matter that has been heard and decided. Furthermore, certain publications relating to proceedings in chambers or in camera are not contempt unless prohibited by the court. Now, what is this procedure with respect to contempt? See, courts can act on contempt cases either on their own motion or through a motion from the Advocate General or others with consent. So in the cases of criminal contempt, proceedings are typically heard by a bench of 2 or more judges. The punishment with respect to contempt may result in the imprisonment up to 6 months or a fine of rupees 2,000 or both. Also, an apology may mitigate the punishment. Then, what about the appeals and limitations? See, appeals against contempt orders can be made to a higher bench or the Supreme Court. So, no contempt action can be initiated after 1 year from the date of the contempt occurred. Looking at the special provisions, the procedure for the contempt in the face of court where the accused is informed and given an opportunity to defend themselves. Also, the high courts can punish the contempt of subordinate courts and have jurisdiction to try offences committed outside their territorial limits. So the third article here says that in a first of its kind initiative, the Indian Army has begun inducting a first-person view drone equipped with an anti-tank payload. This drone was developed, tested and validated internally in collaboration with the Terminal Ballistics Research Laboratory of Chandigarh. In this context, we'll talk about this drone. See, the Indian Army has inducted its first ever first-person view drone equipped with an anti-tank payload. Know that this initiative marks a significant step in tactical drone warfare in India. So, with respect to the cost and procurement, the initial batch of the FPV drones was procured at 1.4 lakh each, with plans to procure 95 more drones in the future. With respect to the development and testing, see, the FPV drone was developed, tested and validated by the Indian Army in collaboration with the Terminal Ballistics Research Laboratory of Chandigarh. Also, the development was led by Major Sifas Chetan and Dr. Raghavendra from TBRL under a project launched in August 2024. Now, why are they significant? See, the FPV drones gained international attention, particularly during the Ukraine war, where they demonstrated their capability to destroy high-value military targets like tanks, showcasing their strategic advantage in modern warfare. Also, the FPV drone is armed with an impact-based anti-tank munition and is designed to perform a kamikaze attack, directly targeting the enemy tanks and other armored vehicles. This development marks the first successful in-house production of such advanced drones by the Indian Army, which is a key milestone in the drone warfare capabilities. So the fourth article here says that the output of the 8 key infrastructures slowed down to a 5-month low of 2.9% in February, as against 7.1% growth registered a year ago, according to the official data released on Friday. In this context, we'll talk about the core sector growth. See, the core sectors of an economy refer to the key industries that have a major impact on the economy. In India, 8 core sectors significantly influence various other industries and the overall industrial growth. So the 8 core sectors are electricity, steel, refinery products, crude oil, coal, cement, natural gas, and fertilizers. So these 8 sectors collectively contribute to 40.27% to the index of industrial production. Also, the index of 8 core industries is calculated monthly by the Office of Economic Advisor under the Department of Promotion and Industry of Internal Trade under the Ministry of Commerce. Also, this ICI indicates the production performance of the core industries both individually as well as collectively. Then these sectors drive the industrial performance, having a significant impact on the overall economic development. So as I said, this is published or calculated monthly by the Office of Economic Advisor under the Department of Promotion and Internal Trade under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Know that it reflects the production performance of the core industries, both individually as well as collectively. So the next article here says that with nearly 30% of the country's estimated 3682 tigers being reported outside the notified reserves, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change is learned to be finalizing the contours of the tigers outside the tigers projects. In this context, we'll talk about the project. See, the Tigers Outside Tiger Reserves project aims to monitor and protect the tiger populations outside the notified reserves, reduce the human-wildlife conflict, and tackle issues such as poaching and livestock depredation. So the project, with an estimated budget of 176.45 crore until the 2026-27, was discussed at a National Board for Wildlife meeting chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So in this context, we'll talk about the key focus areas also. See, the key focus areas are monitoring the tiger population, preventing the human-animal conflict, and community engagement, and lastly, habitat improvement. So the key issues addressed with respect to it are human-wildlife conflict, poaching and monitoring gaps, impact on livelihoods, and so these are the key issues which are addressed, where with respect to the livelihoods, between 2020 and 2024, 378 people lost lives due to their conflicts with the tigers. Maharashtra saw the highest number of fatalities, followed by Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. So talking about the geographical distribution, the project will be first implemented in 80 forest divisions. 80 forest divisions across 10 states identified by the National Tiger Conservation Authority. So this project will supplement the funding provided under the Project Tiger initiative. Lastly, with respect to the funding and support, the National Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management and Planning Authority is expected to provide additional funding. Also, this CAMPA Executive Committee has asked for clarification on any overlap with Project Tiger, and proposal will be reviewed again. So the next article here says that the National Human Rights Commissioner has said that the negligence of the KIT University in Odisha was responsible for the death of a Nepali woman or student on its campus last month. In this context, we will talk about the NHRC. See, the National Human Rights Commission of India was established on 12th October 1993 under the Statute of Protection of Human Rights Act of 1993 as amended by the Protection of Human Rights Amendment Act of 2006. So it is in conformity with the Paris Principles adopted at the first international workshop on the national institutions for the promotion and protection of human rights held in Paris in October 1991. Now, looking at its powers or the functions first, see, it looks into violation of human rights or abetment. Also, negligence in the prevention of such violation by a public servant and intervening in any proceeding involving the allegation of violation of human rights pending before a court with the violation or with the approval of such court. Also, visit under the intimation of the state government any jail or institution under the control of central government to look at the conditions. Also, to review the factors including the acts of terrorism that inhibit the enjoyment of human rights and recommend appropriate remedial measures. Also, to study the treaties and other international instruments on the human rights and make recommendations for their effective implementation. Furthermore, to encourage the efforts of the non-governmental organizations, in short called the NGOs, and the institutions working in the field of human rights. Also, such other functions it may consider necessary for the promotion of the human rights. And looking at the civil court powers, see, it can summon and examine witnesses on oath, request documents and public records, receive evidence via affidavits, issue commissions for the examining witnesses or documents. Also, it can suggest a compensation for the victims who are being for the victims of the human right violations. Also, it can seek enforcement of human rights in the Supreme Court or High Courts. And lastly, it can take suo motu cognizance. It can take suo motu cognizance of the cases of the human right violations without any formal complaint. So the last article here says that India's current account deficit widened to $11.5 billion or 1.1% of the gross domestic product in October-December 2024 quarter. In this context, we'll talk about the current account deficit. See, the current account deficit is the difference between the exports and imports of goods and services. Know that it is a key indicator of the country's external sector. Now, with respect to various components, see, it is a sum of balance of trade, which means exports minus the imports of the goods and services, plus net factor income from abroad, which means the interest income and the dividends, etc., and the net transfer payments, example, the foreign aid. So the formula is current account equals to trade balance or the balance of trade, which with net factor income plus abroad plus net transfer payments. So this trade balance is the value of imports versus the value of exports of the goods and services, where net income includes the interest and dividends. The transfers includes the foreign aid and remittances, and the balance of trade, where the CAD is part of the balance of payments along the capital account. So why is this capital account deficit significant? See, the capital account deficit, the current account deficit is combined with the fiscal deficit creates a challenges for the stock market and investors. Also, a current account surplus indicates positive foreign capital inflows, boosting foreign exchange reserves and strengthening the currency. Now, what is the impact on the economy? See, a CAD suggests that the country may be spending beyond its means. Also, persistent CAD can lead to currency depreciation and external vulnerabilities. So, but it is not always negative, because CAD financed by the external debt can be sustainable if the investments yield higher returns than the cost of borrowing. Also, unsustainable CAD occurs when a country cannot generate enough future revenue to cover existing debt and risking insolvency. What are the different causes for this current account deficit? See, firstly, when a country imports more goods and services than it exports, then the current account deficit can occur. Also, expansionary fiscal or monetary policies can lead to increased imports and reduced savings, exacerbating the benefits. Also, the strong domestic currency can make imports cheaper, increasing the demand and contributing to a deficit. Also, high level of foreign investment can lead to increased imports of capital goods, widening the deficit. So in this video, we have discussed 7 articles in total for today. We'll be back again with another video tomorrow. Thank you.